It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you, so let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome today. We're so glad that you're here, and welcome to our neighborhood. And we are wanting everyone to know that at First Baptist Church, we're for Lynn County. It's a beautiful place to live and to work, and we are letting everyone know. So many times churches are known for what they're against, and we're for Lynn County, and we're for Lynn County homes, we're for Lynn County schools, Lynn County businesses. We're for Lynn County families, and we want Lynn County families to be able to find their hope and their satisfaction, their purpose and their meaning in Christ. And that's what our series is about, for our neighbors, and to help us with that and to help us appreciate where we live, because so many people are like, man, it's better in the big city or whatever. We're interviewing some folks that have made Lynn County home, and they've had chances to maybe visit or live somewhere else, but they've chosen to live right here. And so today, Rhonda Kelstad has agreed for me to interview her, and so I want to welcome Rhonda Kelstad here to the platform. There you go, Rhonda. And many of you know Rhonda from her work, and some of you may not. She's nurse practitioner at the Mercy Clinic in Pleasanton. And Rhonda, how long have you been over there at the Mercy Clinic?
I started in 93 as a student, and then 95 is when I started.
Wow, so 20-some years. We will just leave it at that, right? 20-some years. Well, what drew you to Lynn County then, back at that time?
Well, like I said, I did my clinicals there with Dr. Spencer, and I had my choice. When I finished, they said I could either have the ARMA or Pleasanton, and I chose Pleasanton because the people were incredible, very welcoming, and I was raised in a small town, and I find a lot of value in small town living.
All right. Since then, you've chosen to raise your family here. You've moved to Lynn County. What's that mean for you?
Well, I met my husband, soon to be 16 years ago, or 17, I suppose. I don't know, but anyway.
It was a good day, no matter when it was.
Yeah. And anyway, I moved up here because I married Rob, and I drove from Fort Scott prior to that. So when Rob and I got married, we started a second family. So we have 2 boys now, and this is where we've chosen to raise our second one.
That's great. Now, there's high demand for people in the medical community, and you could have probably left several times over the years. What's kept you here for more than 2 decades, right here in Lynn County?
It's the shopping. No.
You can't pull yourself away from the mall, huh?
Yeah. No, it really is. It's the people. I like the way that in a small community, when you do have young children, you've got more than your set of eyes on them when they do good and when they don't make best decisions. But I just think that there's a lot to be said for the values here. We still help neighbors. We still, I have a servant's heart. I mean, that's why I do what I do. But there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily in a medical community that have servants' hearts, and that comes through loud and clear in this community. And I've witnessed that personally and professionally, and that's why I choose to stay here.
That's a great description of the people I've come to know in Lynn County, is a servant's heart. And we witnessed that 2 weeks ago with Faith in Action Sunday, and nothing but eagerness on the part of this congregation to come and serve and to put themselves out there for God and His glory. And whenever we test for spiritual gifts, it's like servant's heart, servant is what comes up, and that defines our congregation, and there's a reason for that. You're saying it defines the people of Lynn County.
It really does, in my opinion.
There's some challenges probably to doing what you do here in Lynn County, and maybe there's a couple of those challenges that you can tell us about.
Well, you kind of are what you do, and when you're out in the community, you are still doing what you do.
I got this pain right here in my shoulder.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes it's kind of tough because you want to help people, but you just don't have the equipment or what you really need to do it right and to fair to them. So that's probably, I suppose, the biggest challenge, but I don't mind. I really don't. People call, and that's okay. If they need something, then I'm going to be there. That's just who I am. So anyway, that's one of the challenges, and I really think that's primary it. But when you are in an occupation, if you will, that you do work with people, you don't go places. You know people. We were on a cruise going to Jamaica.
Goodness. Oh, my word.
And I run into somebody I knew. So.
Wow.
I can't ever do anything wrong because I get caught.
Wow.
Oh my! There's more blessings every day, and some of the kids that I kind of took care of when they were growing up, now they're bringing their kids to me, and I think that is the ultimate compliment. I feel like it's an honor, it's a joy to get to do what I do, and I get to do it. I don't have to do it, and I would do it whether I got paid or not. Don't tell Mercy that. But I would. I love it. I love it, and I love this community, and that's why we've chosen to stay here.
Well, I think that's great. Lynn County has something to offer. We don't need to be envious of other places. That's one of the points of our for Lynn County and for our neighbors. Hey, last question, if you will. Tell us what's going on at the Mercy Clinic. Give us what do you want us to know about the Mercy Clinic in Pleasanton?
Well, I have the best staff there is. I truly believe that. They're an incredible bunch of girls. I don't have any men working with me, but we have compassionate providers. Kristen Milburn, Tracy Fry, she's the new kid on the block. Kristen and Tracy were both my students. So there again, I'm the old dog around there. And the physician we have is Marion Ray. She's the one that's got a little bit of an accent because she's from France. But we offer everything from prenatal care, that's what I do some, and up to the people that have much more experience with life, taking care of them from every aspect. One of the downfalls I think that we have in this county from a professional standpoint is the lack of specialties. And that is even becoming more prevalent because smaller facilities are not able to sustain all the budget cuts from Medicare and Medicaid. I won't get into all that. But nonetheless, I do think we have a great clinic, and I think we have compassionate people that give that care, and that sets us apart.
That's great. Great staff, and at least one of the staffers is here in the service today that serves with you there. And
she's great, by the way, Carol. Beckwith? Yeah, she's good.
Outstanding. Well, thank you very much. And I talk to people on a very regular basis that value and appreciate your advice, your care, and concern. Rhonda's the best. I'm going to go see Rhonda. I hear that over and over. So I can't give you much. It's not a check, but it's your very own For Linn County sticker. And so you can put that somewhere. Thank you very much. We're going to turn to John chapter 6 eventually in the Word of God. We're spending a little more time with this series seeking to understand the culture in which we live. And I'm concerned for some of you. Since we had Rhonda up here and she's diagnosed many of you with certain conditions, I'm going to have to offer a little diagnosis of myself. I'm going to offer it myself. I'm sure I don't have this, but I'm afraid that some of you here have contracted nomophobia. And so I have a definition of nomophobia, and see if you've got this. No mobile phone available. Now, some of you may have this problem, and it concerns me because the side effects are just dreadful if you've got nomophobia. Now, this is straight off the internet, so you know it's believable. Panic attack, shortness of breath, dizziness, trembling, sweating, accelerated heartbeat, chest pain, nausea. You might be wondering because you were feeling a little nauseated. You left the home without it today. And you're getting dizzy, wondering if you have this disorder. So we've got a little quiz here to help you know if you've got nomophobia or not. In fact, let's go back to that previous graphic because these are just frightening statistics here. 66% sleep next to their smartphones. Lower left, 20% would rather go shoeless for a week than not have their cell phone. 70% of women have mobile phone separation anxiety disorder. And so I don't know what the acronym for that is yet, but they're working on it. 2/3 of the population have nomophobia. And so, again, we're just feeling for you. Look at the lower right hand. I like that one. 72% of people report to being within 5 feet of their smartphones all day long. 5 feet. So if you're 6 feet or more away from your phone right now, you're in the minority. So, okay, let's go with our quiz here to see if you have nomophobia and 10 signs. So this is going to be self-diagnosis today, all right? Okay, number one, let's see. You feel anxious when you don't have your phone with you? Yes or no? Okay, number two. Do you compulsively check your phone for notifications? Hey, I think a couple of you have them right now, and you haven't checked since 5 minutes ago, and so you might want to check that out. How about the third one? Do you get phantom vibrations? Oh, I better check. I think it's the muscles in that part of your body that are just used to flinching on an every 5-minute basis, okay? Let's check another one here. Are you constantly recharging your battery for fear you're going to run out of juice? I'm just wondering if you're being honest with me here because we just can't deal with it if we're not honest. Okay, number 5. Do you have fears about losing service? Yeah. You don't have to answer, but... Okay, number 6. Do you sleep with your phone? You know, I was looking, the guy's on a rock. He has no pillow, no blankets, but he's got the phone right there, just in case. So number 7, is it the first thing you check when you wake up? I mean, you've been missing it. You haven't checked in. There could be notifications. And the Royals, you don't know how the Royals did the night before. That's my excuse first thing in the morning. I have to find out how they did. Okay, number 8. Whoops, okay, hurry back. Next one, do you take it? Hurry back. Okay, thank you. Whoops. what that said was, do you take it into the restroom with you? But we didn't want that guy's ankles to. Okay, number 9, if you forget your phone, you must turn around and go back and get it immediately. What's the distance that you'll turn around for? Is it like work? Would you go back from work? Is it the city? Is it Fort Scott? The end of the block? Oh, I'm a block away. I'm not going back. Said no one ever. Okay. Number 10, are you constantly losing track of conversations that happen with real people? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I have this is reality here. I got it. Okay. Now, anybody coming down with a bad case of nomophobia? Again, you don't have to answer. But maybe you might find yourself in this you might be sitting next to the person that has this belief. 22% of people would rather give up their toothbrush than a cell phone for a week. How many are sitting next to somebody that you think believes that? Oh, my word. It's not that people have an attachment to things. It's not like 25 years ago we just had playing cards in our hand. Oh, I just got to have something in my hand that's rectangular in shape, and I'm just going to carry that with me wherever I go. It's not like that. It's not like we just used to carry spoons around. You just never know when you're going to need a spoon. I got to be in constant contact, ready to eat at a moment's notice. We didn't ever just do that, but somehow this device gets in our hands, and it represents something. It talks to us about connectedness and being linked in and relating to people. Somehow our significance and value derive from our capacity to be tied in and linked in with people. And we worry about how they perceive us. Sebastian Junger, in his book called Tribes, said this: our modern society, despite nearly miraculous advances in medicine, science, and technology, is afflicted with some of the highest rates of depression, schizophrenia, poor health, anxiety, and chronic loneliness in human history. It's stunning that we're more connected than we've ever been through that rectangular device that we all hold in our hands. While at the same time in our culture, there's higher levels of depression and loneliness than there's ever been before. So today we're continuing our series on For Our Neighbors. And we're looking at some aspects of culture, and we're trying to break down those aspects of culture and show that ultimately, when we build our lives on Christ, that's the ultimate answer. And anything outside of that, in today's case, finding our satisfaction anywhere else leaves us dependent on circumstances and people. But when we build our life on Christ, now we've got a satisfaction that has nothing to do with circumstances. Next week, we're going to look at freedom, because freedom is deemed to be the ultimate experience and value in our culture, and we're going to talk about that next week. So today, let's talk first about the dimensions of our discontent. What is it that creates such discontent in our culture? One of the things that creates, or symptoms or evidences of discontent, is family breakdown. The grass is greener on the other side of the fence, people think. And so they see someone else's life and they think, if only I had that. I wish that person, if my spouse was more like that man or that woman, then things would be so much better if I had their life or their job. And so there's this discontent with family and spouse and housing. Finances are another dimension of this discontent. Financial hardships and bankruptcies rise as people try to satisfy longings in their soul with things in their life. We're going to offer, by the way, Financial Peace University, and you can sign up for that to help find some answers and find some direction when it comes to finances. You know, we live in a very litigious society. People are so easily offended. There's lots of lawsuits trying to even the score. People are so easily offended. And you've observed, you've bought a product and there was a crazy warning label on it. Have you seen? I found a couple of crazy warning labels to give you a look at, like that one. Caution, do not swallow. Now, whenever there's a warning label, there was somebody before that caused that warning label to be created, because they didn't sit around and just make that up. Well, let's try one more and see what. Okay, that came from a Shrek iron-on. And they were passing on some good advice that you probably hadn't thought of, not to do the iron-on while you're wearing the shirt. And so that was helpful advice. I think the next warning label should be on all products, and then we'd be done with it, all right? So take a look at the next one. This machine does not have a brain, so use your own. I think that would be the best warning label that we could have on any product. And if you opened a package and it said that, you'd be like, okay, I can now figure this out myself. But man, people are so easily offended. It breaks down family relationships. They leave churches over things that you think, really, that? Friendships have ended, family relationships. Social media is another dimension to this discontent. It's used by so many to gain acceptance or approval. Look at me, like me, agree with me. And of course, people only post things they need agreement on. And so the rest of us are like, well, here I am sitting around, doing nothing, and my friends are all at ball games and concerts, and their kids are, growing up and saving China, and what are my kids are just, can't flush the toilet, and and we just are like comparing things, and it's just not as good as theirs. What am I going to do? Another one is physical beauty that emphasizes or creates a comparison and an envy in our culture. And it breaks people. It distorts women's view of themselves and leads to self-loathing and eating disorders. It demoralizes aging people because they see themselves getting older and the world seems to be like focused on the young. It causes older people to do sorts of outlandish things trying to stay young. It distorts men's lives by making them reject great spouse prospects for superficial reasons. It drives men into pornography because they're making superficial visual judgments and assessments about things. Now, our culture tells us these kinds of things are going to make us happy. And they don't. And so there's a couple of reactions that are typical for us in this when we come to that crossroads. One is that we say, well, they told me I needed this to be happy, and it hasn't worked. I need more of it. If I just get more. And so the pursuit of more happens. Or we think, I just need different. This wasn't it. I need something else. And so we become living human pinball machines that we tried this interest for a while and that was all fun and games. And then we tried this over here and this was kind of interesting, but it's not fun anymore. And so we bounce back over here and we try that over here. We try that over there. And we're just not satisfied. And so we need more stuff or a different woman or more money or a different job. And we need more and different, more and different. That is our culture. More and different. And when the more doesn't work and the different doesn't work, we get angry. Now, anger is a secondary emotion. Every now and then I'll hear of somebody, they got sent to anger management class. They just need to learn to control their anger. But anger is a secondary emotion. There's some primary cause of the secondary emotion. And the primary cause of anger is that people, what they're angry with, is blocking them from achieving the satisfaction they think they need. So I've got this goal in mind, and my goal is over there. And if I could get to that job, that person, that circumstance, that level of success in life, in business, then I would be satisfied. But something's blocking it. Somebody's standing in the way. Now, they may be actually in the way, or they may not. It doesn't matter, because now I'm angry at that thing for blocking my way to get what it is that I need. The boss, the spouse, the pastor. You'd be surprised how many times pastors get blamed for whatever is blocking somebody in their path. The subject of anger, disgust, even violence. A spouse, the person is angry at everyone. They might be angry at one person or entity, but it's all because they've been blocked from reaching some level of satisfaction that's dependent on circumstances. And so there's some strategies that people employ. There's some strategies because we tend to think in one of two ways. We think it is still out there. And that's what drives the more indifferent. It's out there. Or we think it's not there. It doesn't exist. It's not there at all. There never was an it. And so there's a sequence that people kind of follow. And if you look at a lot of our culture, it kind of follows in this sequence. It starts with the young, and they're thinking, it's still out there. And so young people are trying a lot of different things. They're accumulating a lot of different things. They have opportunities and travel and toys to acquire. And so they try this for a while and this for a while, and it doesn't satisfy. But here's what they think. I'm not done trying everything yet. And so sooner or later, I'm going to hit upon the right thing. They're pursuing life. And so jobs and family and partner and accumulation of assets and pursuit of recreation. And so they might pursue a job for a while, and they're like, well, I've kind of run its course, and I don't know. I'll start looking around for somebody to marry, I guess. And so they pursue that, and that's not quite it. And you know what? Kids, we need kids. If we had kids, wouldn't that change things? And how many wives have thought a child would bring her closer to her husband and bring the two of them closer together? How many guys have thought another weekend away and that would satisfy me? That would be it. If I could just get another hobby, a new hobby. And the young think, of course I'm restless. I just haven't gotten everything done that I intend to do. So we get over this hill, around that bend, and I'll finally have achieved the happiness I've been looking for. But as time goes on, we realize we're not getting it. And this is when we move into the resentful stage. This is where we begin to blame the obstacles that are blocking our path. We thought we needed that to be satisfied, and something is in the way. It could be prejudice or discrimination or size of the community or the spouse, the boss, the pastor. Start going through all of that. I would be happy if it weren't for fill in the blank. And how many people have found themselves in the resentful category? Now what's interesting is this resentful level works in the short term. Because the resentful person is still in the more indifferent stage. So I can do more, accumulate more, or do different, accumulate different, pursue different. And so that works for a while. Now it doesn't work for the long term, but it works for a while. And when that doesn't work, someone gets blamed and we move on. But it always remains elusive. And so we come to the third level, which is the driven. This person has actually achieved a number of goals and still lacks satisfaction and contentment. They take blame to the new level. The spouse, the business partner, friends, pastor become even more the target. They go through houses and jobs and hobbies and spouses and churches, constantly reinventing themselves, assuming that at the next level, it will be there. Do you know when you get on a treadmill, you can increase the speed, but you never change locations? And the driven person is on a treadmill. And they think, more and different, I need more. I'll just turn up the speed. And then they look around and it's still not happening. And so they become the despairing. If we don't find it, even after trying to remove obstacles, even after blaming and eliminating the people or places that were the obstacles for us, the despairing start to think, well, maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I don't have it in me. Maybe I'm no good. And so here we have depression and laziness, all sorts of efforts to try to come to terms with the fact that it doesn't really exist. So what's the cure? What's the cause? What's at the root of all of this? Here's what's at the root of it. We're trying to draw satisfaction from things and people that are unable to create them in us. There's no spouse that can give you what you need to be happy. There's not a job out there that can give you what you need to be happy. There's not a church or pastor, there's not a hobby that can give you the satisfaction and happiness that you need in life. Our loves, our devotion is out of order. We're devoting ourselves to things that are incapable of sustaining. We're building our lives on that which cannot satisfy. Now, how many of you would want to walk across this bridge? Rushing river, right? Come on. Now we would all say, that's crazy. I'm not going to walk on that bridge. But many of us are trusting our lives with things that are far less stable. My happiness depends on my spouse. If I just get this certain job, everything's going to be all right. My friends have to be there for me or I'm not happy. I'm so depressed because my friends aren't there for me. That pastor doesn't measure up to my expectations. The church wasn't there for me. When you put your faith, well, I'll say it like this. Great faith in a weak object is calamity. Now, silly picture here. Somebody sits on a chair. The chair doesn't work quite right, and down they go. Great faith in a weak object is calamity. Now, here's how this works. A parent builds their whole life around their child. They need the child to like them, so they can't ever really discipline when they're young, because the child might shout out, "I hate you," and then they just go all to pieces. Not realizing kids say that all the time, and they don't know how else to express anger, frustration. Anger is a secondary emotion. There's some underlying frustration. And so the parent needs to be liked. They can't discipline them. They can't create boundaries or parameters because they need to be liked so badly. But they're expecting a child to give them a happiness and satisfaction in life that kids aren't cut out to do. I remember where Terry and I were on the road driving when I was apologizing for whatever my latest thing was that I had said. It's usually something I've said. And she said, "Whoever said it was your job to make me happy?" Now, my first thought was, fine, I'll quit trying. But that doesn't ever really go over because she calls me on that too. But what she was saying was that the primary source of her satisfaction in life wasn't her husband. If you build your life, ladies, around your husband being perfect in every way, there's no man on the planet that can measure up to that standard. I remember the day, it was years ago, I told somebody to quit. It was a woman, and I've never said it since, and it was not very good advice. I said, stop listening to Christian radio broadcasts describing what husbands should be like. Because no husband was measuring up to what was coming across on the radio. And she was disillusioned and disheartened. And there's nothing wrong with loving your work. But if you love your work more than your family, then your loves are out of order. Your devotion is misdirected. And you may ruin your family. If you love making money more than you love fairness, then you will exploit your employees because your loves are distorted. Interestingly, a weak faith in a strong object is healthy when it's the right object. But you put a lot of faith in an object that's not designed or created to support you and sustain that pressure. Some years ago, my daughters were in school. They had to build a bridge out of popsicle sticks. Some of you went. There was a teacher at Jayhawk Lynn that was his big assignment. And it had to hold 300 pounds. Pass, fail. Created such sleepless nights and great anxiety. They probably were over visiting Rhonda at the doctor's office to get some calming medication. Pass, fail. 300 pounds. Has to hold it up. And you can only test that once. A strong faith in a weak object is calamity. Now, ultimately, this discontentment is because our first love is missing. Humanity was made in the image of God. We were designed to love and to follow God. God is a Trinity and experiences love within the Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit. And He experiences that love within Himself. And we were created to join in that love and to share in that love. And when we turn to things of the world to give us that kind of love, we sin and we sink. You harm yourself when you love anything more than God. How? You love your children more than God. You rest your significance and your security on your kids and them liking you. And so you either drive them away or you crush them under the pressure and expectations because they're your ultimate source of happiness. Same with a spouse or romantic partner. This is the one I've been hoping for all of my life. It's finally the right person. If you love anything more than God, you harm the object of your love. because you are smothering that child, that spouse. You're pressuring them to be someone they are not designed to be. And you're seeking to get out of that a level of love and devotion and significance and value that you weren't designed to do. We lock our hearts onto things with profound intensity. We attach so strongly. Envy, resentment, anxiety, even violence, in order to hang on to that possession that we think is going to give us that satisfaction. Look at the words of Jesus. John chapter 6, verse 27. John 6 and verse 27. Do not labor for food that perishes, but for food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you, because God the Father has set his seal on him. He said you're building your life on things that don't last, on food that perishes. Don't build your life on that. Don't seek your satisfaction that depends on circumstances. A few verses later, verse 35, Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. What Jesus is saying is, God, I'm offering you a satisfaction and a happiness that's not based on circumstances. It's not based on whatever financial level you reach or what social status that you reach. It's based on who God is and the value that he sees in you. A few pages back in chapter 4, Jesus met a woman at a well. Verse 13 of John 4. Jesus said to her, whoever drinks of this water will thirst again. More different, more different. Whoever builds their life on the things of this world, they're going to need more, they're going to want different. But, he says, whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will be fully satisfied, will never thirst. Now, no believer does this perfectly. But the more we arrange the loves and devotions in our lives, you know what more and different does? It creates a longing for spectacle in our life. We want a spectacle, something big and glamorous. And man, where do you go when you have a spectacle experience? Where do you put it? Well, we got to put it on the book, right? So we got to keep our phone within 5 feet because I might have a spectacle. And if I don't, somebody else is, and I can get in on that. God calls us to devotion, to arranging the values and loves and priorities in our lives with him as the capstone. The things of this world are intended to be secondary. Work is work. It's a great way to use your gifts, but when it becomes the number one devotion, we're in trouble. Family is family, a place for love and acceptance and giving, but when it becomes number one, no family can sustain that over time. So we're not saying love anything less. We're saying arrange your devotion so that God is first. And when God is first in your life, that's a satisfaction that doesn't depend on circumstances. Would you bow your heads with me, please? Heads bowed and eyes closed. This is response time for us. This is when we get to the point of a life offering back to God. God, here is my life. Here's my priority. My devotion needs to be directed toward you. Are you able to look at your life and say, man, I've got some priorities distorted. I've been expecting family to measure up to my level, my spouse, my boss, a pastor, co-workers. I've been expecting other people to live up to these things, and they just haven't. And it's not them, it's me. My devotions are distorted. How about today? God, I need to love you more. My anger, my resentment, my envy is an indication that my devotion is distorted. Today I want to rearrange that. Father in heaven, I pray that you'd help every one of us across this room as we rearrange our loves, our devotion. May we enjoy family, spouse, work, church, friends, hobbies. But may they not be what gives us satisfaction. Help us not to labor for food that spoils, but to build our lives on that which lasts, on you. In Jesus' name, amen.